All right, so what we're going to do in this one is basically make two sets of images. Like I said before, we're going to make one that just makes them all match, and then one that we're just going to take the backgrounds out of. Okay, so probably the best thing to do is to find the lowest common denominator. So what I want you to do is I'm just going to go to Windows and make sure you have properties on. And if you have properties on, you can see over here, as long as you have nothing selected, just have like this is a regular old move tool on, turn off. You'll actually see the size over here. Let's see, it's saying 4x6, but it's not really helping me. It's annoying. Okay, so it's 4x6, and then it's resolution's 100. That means it's 600 by 400 pixels is what this is. You can also do it this way if you don't see it there. Just go to image size, and you can see 600 by 400. Okay. So that's 600 by 400. And then this one is it's 72. I don't feel like doing math, so we're just going to go this way again. So let's do image size. And we are 700 by 420. So what was this one? 6 by 400. So 400 is our lowest one so far. And this one's clearly larger, so that's fine. This one's probably larger, and this one's larger. So I think the smallest one is this guy here. So I'm going to use this as kind of what we're going to do for everything. So we'll say 600 by 400 works for me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and unlock it just because. And I'm just going to take the other pictures and bring them in here one by one. So I'm just going to go ahead, go to this one, Control A for select all, Control C for copy. And then I'm going to Control V in here. All right, and we're just going to go right down the line. So Control A, Control C, Control V, Control A, Control C, Control V, and Control A, Control C, and and Control V. Okay. Now, before I bother going through and scaling all these, I would lose resolution. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to make them smart objects, just to make it a little bit easier. And I'll even do it on the first one too, just for good measure. So I'm just going to right click and go convert to smart object, right click, 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 convert to smart object. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn all the top ones off. I'm just on the second one here. I'm going to hit Control T for free transform. And I'm just going to try and match the lowest common denominator, which is the ground here. Once I get that, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to hold Shift and actually I don't have to hold Shift. I'm going to hold Shift and use my arrow keys and just try to center it and say that's good. And then hit Enter. Boom. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the next one like this and hit Control T. And I'm just going to grab the top. Now, mind you, you don't hold Shift anymore to do proportionate. It's a little bit different. And so we're going to go until we get to here. Okay. And then I'll just use, if you hold Shift, it'll do bigger increments as you go across. I'll go like that, hit Enter. Now, if you remember, the reason why I'm doing smart objects is that way it doesn't lose resolution. It basically stores the original image. So if I had to scale them back up or do anything with them, it'll always retain the original image in it. So when it resamples the image, it's kind of doing it in a preview kind of way, but it has the original resolution in it. Okay, so this one, Control T, and I guess we're going to grab it by here, and again, like that, and not too far off, Enter, and then the last one here, Control T, and grab it by the corner, till we get... Well, this one's really close to the other one. What was the original size of this? It's like the same thing. Okay, good. All right, so now I have all the pictures in a row. So if you look, you can see some of these are wildly different, okay? These two aren't too bad from each other. This one's obviously a whole lot different. Very bright, very saturated, lots of contrast. This one's got a little bit of, grittiness to it. And this one's super bright. So the best way to I would suggest doing this is if you add the more, I think I said this before, I can't remember if it was in this class, but basically if you have a color and you want to take another color and you want it to match, I'm trying to see let me see if I can find a color wheel. That might be the best way to show you. So let's just look up color wheel. And we'll just do images, just so you get an idea here. And we'll do this one. Okay. Actually, That one's not going to work. The one that was white would work. I saw one that has like a whiteness to it. Here we go. This one will work. Okay. So let's say you want to have your colors are harmonious, right? So what'll happen is if, let's say I have a yellow, like my thing's generally yellow, but I want to have purples in it. So obviously purple or violets are way on the opposite end of the spectrum. So they're going to bounce off each other. That's a complementary scheme. But let's say I didn't want that. Let's say I wanted to have, purple, but I wanted to, as best as it could, match my yellow. Generally speaking, colors that are near each other will work together, okay? So what that means is that, like, if I did orange and yellow, that works. This orange and green works. If I did this in general, like what I'm covering here, would generally work, okay? The farther I try to go around this to the opposite side, the more it's not going to unify, okay? Sometimes that's good. Like I said, if you're trying to do a complementary color scheme, like if you're doing a sports team, then obviously you want to have that high contrast in the hue, but a lot of times you don't. So what you do is that if I'm trying to get this color to be, and I want to have a purple, that I want that hue, you desaturate it. So you start to meet here, okay? Now, this is going towards white, but obviously it could also go towards black, or it could just go towards gray, right? That value change isn't what matters. What matters is the desaturation. So if I took this purple and this yellow, right? These match a lot better. They don't bounce off each other as much as this, okay? So what that means is if you're trying to take pictures that are very disparate, at least as far as like, if I look at these two, right? As far as like the color is concerned, the best thing you can do is to make them meet in the middle, all right? Now, you probably have seen like in other websites and stuff, sometimes what they'll do is they'll do this like gradation of like a dark gradation across, and then it'll bleed out, or they'll do, first they'll try to make sure the pictures are generally kind of similar, but they'll try to blend them out. But another thing you can do is just to either desaturate the images or to give them some sort of tone, like a sepia tone or something like that. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to give them all sort of a tone and then kind of work from there. So I'm going to click and drag across all of these, and then I'm just going to go to the top. I guess doesn't really matter. And then we're just going to go to, let me see if I can find it. Black and white. And then, does it not? Let me see. Here we go. So, that's not the one I was looking for. Here we go. I want tint. And we're going to go to tint, and that's going to allow us to tint them all in the same color. So if you look, not this one. If you look at these two, see how now they match? I mean, obviously style is different, but the thing is the colors match, right? Now this is obviously it's like a lot. Like that's probably too much. I mean, it is too much. But it does get us closer to what we want. So then from there, basically, all we're going to do is just try to, let's use the first one as a guide. We're just going to try to get them to be, get a little bit of color in there, but, sway how much we want it. So I'm literally just going to take this layer. I'm just going to take the opacity down, and then we're going to go like that. And then I'm just going to look to see if I can get it. It's, where it will look okay. So let's go a little bit more. Let's see. I think that those are probably close enough that they, it's not going to be perfect. We're just trying to make them a little bit better. That's really all we can do. We can't make it, I could go to each individual image and then, specifically try to get them to be one way or the other. But I don't think that's going to really benefit as much as I would like. So we're just going to use this just as a quick kind of to get them closer in a quicker manner. So leave that guy on. Let's turn these all off, and I'm just going to save basically this. So it's a good idea to save the master file too. So I'm just going to go ahead and do Control-Shift-S, and then I'm just going to go ahead and save it inside of here, and we'll just call this new inventory cars for slider. Okay, great. And then in that thing as well, I'm gonna make a new folder, and we'll just say slider images. I'm gonna save it right into this folder of slider images. And so now I'm gonna do is just save one after the other. So I'll Control-Shift-S again and go to slider images, and we're just gonna, These don't have transparency, so we're just going to go ahead and make them JPEGs because they should be relatively small. And I'm just going to call this the Halo. Actually, I guess it's a Warthog. Warthog. Okay, good. Next one, Control Shift S. Again in there, and again we're going to save it as this. And this is, I don't know if you guys ever played Twisted Metal. It used to be a really awesome game. This is Sweet Tooth. But it's kind of long in the tooth, if you will, at this point. So we'll save this too. I really do got to play Rocket League. I'm assuming some of you guys have played it before. So, what is one? Rocket League. I don't know what the specific name is of this car, or if they have names. So, and I don't know the name of this car either, actually, for that matter. I did play Borderlands. And we're just going to call this Borderlands. Borderland, apparently. And then the last one. Now, the problem is with this one, though, compared to the others, it's still pretty stark, and it's not because of him. It's not because of him, even. It's because of the background. So I'm actually going to go ahead and fix that real quick. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna use this later too, but there's a new tool here for selection. So you probably used it like Magic Wand. I can click on the outside, and that pretty much worked perfectly. So, but another. You know what? Let's just use that. I'm just going to go ahead and use the Magic Wand. Don't use Quick Selection. I think Magic Wand would probably work better. So click on Magic. Oh, you know what? It didn't work perfect because it got some of this too. So, yeah, we'll use Magic Wand. Click on the outside. And then what I'm going to do is just quickly fix it with the Quick Mask mode. So if you hit Q or you click on this button, it's Quick Mask mode. And then hit B for the brush. And just make sure you have the very typical, go to General Brushes and just do a hard brush. And just make sure you got black and white here. Okay, so white will add and black will remove. So if I tap X, that will flip between my black and white colors. So I just need to add, oops, apparently black apparently adds, sorry. I know on the image itself it's going to be white, so my mistake. So I'm just going to go, because I just see that it messed up here, and it also messed up on his cuff. So I'm not going to go too nuts with it. That's good enough. We'll call that good. Okay. And then we're just going to tap Q again, or you can click that off, and now that's the selection. And I'm going to go ahead and I want to invert this. So I'm going to do Command or Control Shift I. So now, before we selected everything that wasn't him. Oh, you know what? We got to grab this too, actually. I missed a spot. With the Magic Wand tool. Oops. We need to add this. So to add something, you can use these up here, or if you hold Shift, that will only add. You'll see the little thing turns into a plus. Alt will turn into a minus. That will remove things. So I'm going to hold Shift and click on, that didn't work, Control plus. Let's alt that. Oops, wrong one. What is going on here? Killing me, Smalls. Why is that? Which one am I on? I'm on Magic. Let's try Quick Selection, see if we have better luck. Actually, I'm just going to get Q, and I'm just going to manually do it, because I don't know what's going on with that. It's acting really weird. Must have done something wrong. Oops. X, and make sure we have all this back in here. But yeah, we missed this part here, so I'm just going to make sure I'm just going to manually paint this out, which is super cumbersome, but whatever. Shouldn't have to do that. It's also a little bit here too. I think it's down in there too. I don't care. We'll call that good enough. Okay. So now my selection basically is just the guy. By hitting Control Shift I, or you go to select inverse, that will invert the selection. I'm gonna hit this little mask button, and that's gonna mask him out. But now you're just gonna see what's behind him. And all I'm gonna do is just add a new layer, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add a gradient to it. So I'm gonna go to the adjust these layer things here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a gradient on it. And then using that, I am going to, let me see, go basics. We'll just do black to white here. And that looks okay. And then I just need to fix it from there. So let me see. I think, Okay. I'll just go with that. I still think that's better than, I want our pattern to be better. I don't really like that. Let's not use the layer thing. Let's just do an actual layer here. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint a gradient. I'm just going to go to the gradient tool, click and drag, which gives me this one apparently. Let's just do black and white, and then I'm going to change the black color by double clicking on it. Just go to like a darkish gray. Actually, we'll go to a lightish gray. We'll leave this one at white. I'm going to click in here to add a new one. Double click on this. Go to a darker gray. And then we'll hit OK. And then I'm going to hit OK. And we'll click and drag. I'm going to go this way. There we go. That way it gives an idea of for depth. That's what I'm thinking. And then on top of this, I'm just going to go ahead and do a filter. And I'm going to add some noise to it. So we'll add noise. Again, just to kind of break it up a little bit. Doesn't be too crazy. Add a little bit of noise. And we're going to call that one good for this. So I'm just going to Control S to save what we did, and then Control Shift S to actually save the JPEG. Okay, and this will be Mario Kart. Boop, boop, boop. Mario Kart. Good. Okay. So now at this point, we have officially done the things I needed to. We can close out of these. We're going to keep this image going. The next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the backgrounds and just have the items themselves. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. And we also don't need this adjustment layer anymore. Okay, so he's already done because I did it earlier in order to do the thing. So we're going to turn him off and we're starting at the bottom here. I'm going to save this again, Control Shift S. And instead of new inventory for cars for slider, we're going to say just new inventory cars. No background. Okay. All right. So with this guy selected, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use this new tool here just called Object Selection. So what this does is it tries to select the object in the scene. And it's through a marquee select. It's really cool. It does a really good job. It's probably not going to do that great here because there is a lot of noise. So I'm going to click and drag and see. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not terrible. Yeah, so from here, we can try to use maybe our quick selection tool. And I'm just going to use the bracket keys next to the P. And I'm going to hold Alt so it subtracts. And see if I can just click and remove this stuff in here. Oh, not that part. All right. I'm just going to hold Shift to add to that. Hold Shift to add to that. Okay. And then we're going to hold Alt and remove that. Alt and remove that. And hold Shift and add to that. And we're just going to see if we can add. So you might be wondering what's the difference between the magic wand and the quick selection tool. The magic wand, what it does is that when you click in an area, what it does is it looks for like pixels and it will seep across them, right? So that was the original one. Then they came out with the smart selection. I think that's what it's called, right? Quick selection. And what that does is that it looks for an edge. So basically it'll run all the way across until it hits something that's clearly an edge, and it tries to, kind of like a content aware thing, it'll look and see is this an edge, and it will seek to that edge. Sometimes that one works better. Sometimes Magic Wand I find actually still I prefer on some things. So I'm gonna hit Q and just get in real close here. And again, switch to the brush tool and make with my brackets and paint out stuff. Okay, yada yada yada. I think you probably get the idea. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this just because you don't need to watch me removing things here. But this is one of those things that you'd want to spend a decent amount of time on. And I didn't do a very good job over there, did I? Okay, just imagine I did a good job. Okay, and then we'll just hit Q to turn that back off. So now that's my selection, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit the quick mask here. Or not quick mask, sorry, just mask it. And now the background's gone, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and do that for the rest of them. And then when I'm done, I'll start the video up again, okay? So now all the images have been masked out. I did a really bad job because I was just trying to rush through it because I got another class starting in a moment. But the one issue that I also have too that I need to fix is that the whole thing we're going for is consistency. So if you look, you'll see all of the vehicles are looking to the left, except for this one. It's looking to the right. So I'm just going to quickly flip that. So I'm just going to go to Edit, Transform, and we're just going to flip horizontal. That way it's the same as the rest of them. So what we're going for here, and the reason why we're doing this is that if you go like on the Amazon, right, you look at any of their products, what you're going to notice is that they sell like everything, right? I mean, from diapers to computers to homewares to, I mean, you name it, right? I don't think there's anything they don't sell. Anything they legally can sell, I'm pretty sure they're selling. Maybe probably some things they're not legally allowed to. But one of the things that they had done, they had sued about, or they tried to get a patent on a white background. So one of the reasons why their site still looks harmonious is that if you look at all of their products, you're going to notice that all of them have a white background. And it helps, even though there might be something wildly different in this panel to the next one. If they both have a white background, they at least have that to kind of keep them combined. And that's more or less what we're looking to do here. They didn't win that battle, by the way, because you can't copyright a white background. That's not really a thing. I don't know if you guys know this too. Apple tried to do something similar where they sued over the rounded phone square shape or rectangle shape, and basically the judge says you can't patent a shape. Like, that's not really, you can't legally do that. So they end up not winning that one either. But it's pretty dumb, but that's the thing. So now we got them all like that. I'm just going to go ahead and add a white background. So I'm just going to go on the bottom here. We're going to go to just the regular paint bucket, and I'm just going to make sure it's white, and we're going to click, and boom. Okay. Now, what would make this look even better is if we actually added maybe just a shadow underneath. And it doesn't need to be good. It can be totally fake, and when you see them, they usually are. So to do that, what I'm going to do is basically just draw out a shape. And I think the easiest way to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do the polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to go down here, and I'm just going to draw out where I think the shadow should be. So I'm going to click, 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 and double click, right? Like that. And then I'm going to click on this and do black. And I still have the fill. I'm going to go to the fill tool, which is G. And click in there, and now I got black. And I'm going to hit Control D, like dog, to remove it. And that looks like junk, right? So all we're going to do is just go to Filter, Blur, and Gaussian Blur. And we'll just up it a whole lot. We'll say like that. And then I'm going to take the opacity down a whole bunch. Okay, and we can spend a lot more time, make it look a lot nicer, but we're going to call that good. I'm going to go ahead and save this one first, Control-Shift-S, and go, not to slider images, I'll make a new folder in here. And new folder, and we'll just do, what is this one called? No backgrounds. No backgrounds, okay? And we'll just go ahead and say this as a JPEG. And we're just going to, come on. And we're just going to call it Warthog. Oops. Warthog, no, NBG, no background. That makes sense? I don't know. Okay, save. Yay. Okay, so we're going to turn these off. I'm going to turn the next car on. Yep, next car on, which is this guy. Make a new layer, put it underneath. I'm going to do the same thing as last time. Use my polygonal lasso. I'm just going to go boom. And we'll say boom to boom to boom, and double click. I'm going to hit G for the paint bucket. Click. Great. I'm going to hit Control D to clear my selection. I'm going to go filter, and you'll see the last effect you do always shows up on the top. So you can, it's all Control F. So I can just hit that next time. Boom. There we go. Take my opacity down a whole bunch. What did I do previously? I did, looks like 72. So we can bring this back up a little bit to like 76. That's fine. Let's go ahead and save it. Control-Shift-S. And go here. And again, we're just going to do a JPEG. And this will be Sweet Tooth. I don't know how to spell Sweet Tooth. NBG. So like I'm saying RBG. Okay, take those off. Next one, same thing. And put that underneath. And I'm gonna hit the lasso tool, which is L. Click, 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 and double click. And then we'll hit G, paint bucket, Control D, and then it was Alt Shift F. Nope, Alt Control F. There it is, Alt Control F. Take the opacity down to 71 is fine, and let's save it. Control Shift S. Okay. Again, JPEG, and this is Rocket League NBG. Good. Turn those off. Next one. Put a layer above. L for lasso. Boom, boom, boom. Double click. Good. G for the paint bucket. Control D. Alt Control F. And change my opacity. So this is one of those things that might make sense to make like an action for. If you're going to do a whole bunch of these, I would just make an action that would automatically do all this. Hopefully you remember making actions inside of doing that in digital imaging. But anyway, Control Shift S. No backgrounds. Again, where are you? JPEG. And this will be Borderlands. NBG. Great. And I think I got one more. All right. Which, like that. And L for lasso. Boom, boom. I guess we'll include him maybe, because he's kind of in there. All right, like that. G, paint bucket, Control D, boom, and change the opacity to something lower, and then Control Shift S, and we'll save this as Mario Kart NBG. Okay, great. And then we're just gonna save this one more time. Control Shift S, and we're gonna do new inventory for sliders, new inventory, no background. Oh, we'll just save it over that. I already saved it apparently. Okay. And great. So now we got those done. So what we need to do in the next one is we just need to bring them in and basically get those to work. But hopefully, if we look at my folders here, so my slider images now, you'll see when I go click through, see how they all match? I mean, they're wildly different, but they match better than they did. And you can do other things too. It doesn't have to be just sepia tone. As long as you give them something that's similar between all of them, it'll help them match. And then, which is what we did here, right? So I just did this white background. So even though these are all wildly different, you can see that they have a similarity in the way that they're treated, even though they weren't done well, okay? So in the next video, we'll actually apply that.